Hello, welcome. All right, today, I'm back in the car park waiting for my class and taking this opportunity. There are mosquitoes flying around. It's really early in the morning. It's like 7 a.m. So I'm going to probably be trying to splat some of the mosquitoes. And I might edit around the splatting. We'll see. Okay, so I've been writing. I write on Medium, the platform Medium. I've done some writing on Substack as well. And I've had this, thinking ahead, because my calendar's starting to get a bit full. My timetable's getting a bit full. So I'm thinking ahead, which I don't usually do. So usually when I'm going to write, I just sit down and I just start like a few sentences or a word, and then I just let it flow. Similar to what I'm doing in this space. I'm just trying to capture these flow state moments. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that because I'm a little bit inspired by, this might not make sense immediately, but what I'm thinking of is that I'm inspired by long form listening. So as an example, I really like Lex Friedman's podcast because he talks to people for like such a length of time, like 3 hours or more. And it's in listening to these really long conversations, and maybe there are edits and stuff, that's okay. But there are a lot of questions, so you kind of get a lot of nuance out of a person. Now, I'm not trying to do a long form here. This is only short form. I'm aiming for kind of 10 minutes or so in these videos that I upload to YouTube, between 10 and 20 minutes. But I'm trying to exercise and then demonstrate the exercise of just beginning to see what kind of things come through from there. So maybe those two things don't link for you, they link for me. So here we are. So I was thinking ahead of time about my schedule and thinking, well, what do I want to write about? And what's really been coming up and like as a theme, and I don't know what the content is going to be, but the theme is like God is in the music, right? Because one thing in human design, particularly, that we understand, and we understand more and more about like the universe, and we've known for such a long time, everything is vibration. But there's a difference between like intellectualizing or understanding something in the mind and then, beginning to like be conscious enough of that you can start to like act like that everything is a vibration. So like sometimes I have these like penny drop moments, and I'll say to someone, hey, I just realized like this and this and this, and they'll be like, yeah, we know that the whole time. So I'm like, oh yeah, I guess what I'm saying is not new, but I'm having a moment where there's like some kind of like physical integration where it's gone from something that I understand intellectually into something that I'm now like consciously aware of in my day-to-day actions. So music as an expression, obviously music is such a huge part of human experience. We have music everywhere. We have music in the shopping centers. We have music on the radio while we drive. We have I don't know, I'm gonna say there's less music in the home than ever. I don't know if I'm wrong, who knows about that, but there just seems to be like, and here's why I think that is, because the quality of music's been quite degraded, while capability of high quality sound has increased. And maybe music tracks that we listen to in some sense have high quality to the recordings, but often our playback is quite low quality. Things like phone being on hold, for the bank, and there's like static, kind of distorted, terrible fucking music playing in your ears that you like don't know how to escape from. I mean, you can put it on speaker, I know, like whatever you do with that. But then, you're in supermarkets, or you might like even just listen to something on your phone, which is like sort of mixing in with your environmental noises. And what is happening is when we listen to poor quality sound or distorted sound, so we know that like a sound wave goes like this, right? wave, we see the peak and the pit of the wave. When we hear distortion, the top or the bottom of the wave is getting cut. So there's some kind of limitation on the wave, which is, so it's not allowing you to hear the completion of the wave. It's cutting it off, and we're going like, that's where we get a bit of distortion. This can happen without you completely realizing it. Like sometimes it's really obvious that that's happening, and sometimes like you can actually listen to quite a lot and not really know it. And what this does actually is elicits fight, flight, freeze response in us. Our body is having a response on some level. So you may not be as aware of what's going on when you're listening to hold music or something like that, or you're in a supermarket or something, and there's like the high-pitched ringing. It's sending us into fight or flight or freeze, or even fawn responses. So this is actually making us unwell. This because the constant stress that we're under is what causes changes to our cells in our body. So there's a really great book. I'm gonna have to look up the name of the author. It's called The Survival Paradox. I'll put the name of the author in the description below. But I love that book. It was about this particular protein called galactin. I think it was galactin 3, galactin something, which is a type of protein in our body which is responsible for a lot of cell changes, and it's designed to put a protection around your cells when there is a stressor. But when this galactin just keeps producing from constant stress, then it starts like cell mutation. And the thing is that it puts a casing around the cell so that treatments that would help to heal the stressed cells actually can't get into it. So that's where, in this book, I really love it. It talks a lot about like heart-centered meditations and a lot about healing that has to come from the way we, feel and act in the world. But there is also something called modified citrus pectin that can help break down this outer cell wall. But you need a certain type of modified citrus pectin because it has to be molecularly small enough to crack through. Anyway, I'm getting a bit sidetracked. But essentially, all of these stresses, it's not just from, working a job that you find particularly taxing. It's far more like insidiously in everywhere that we go and everything that we do. If you're going to the supermarket, if you're going to the shopping center, if you're driving on the road, we have all of, we're in Australia here, and I've been all around the world, and guess it's not everywhere, but we have a lot of trucks, we have a lot of buses. These are like noisy diesel engines. We have a lot of air traffic, so we've got just planes are constant. So all of that traffic, and then if it's not that, it's some kind of industrial construction, and if it's not that, it's power tools in the backyard that people are using, like whippersnippers and lawnmowers and leaf blowers. Like why are we trying to, oh, my ear just did a weird thing, hey. Like why are we trying to manicure our planet to within an inch of its life, literally within an inch of its life? Okay, so it's really important that we understand how I'm going to say this, I don't know, I never know where I'm going to go with this, right? I say it's important to understand. I'm like, what is it important to understand? And I'm looking for that thought. And what I'm going to is that if God is in the frequency, but the waves are getting distorted and disrupted and blocked from us, we can't get the full wave. So that it's not only like a constant stress on the body, but it's the access to the divine. It's access to the divine, and it's this constant stress response that is blocking us. Like a pure tone, a pure note is so healing. It's not just healing, it's like, well, it is healing, but it's like beautiful, and it's calming, and you can feel the difference in your cells. It doesn't have to be about your ears. It's sound goes straight into your body. It doesn't go straight in, it doesn't just go into your ears. It doesn't just like funnel down into your ears. Sound goes into every cell of your body. It washes over you. We're in it. We walk in it. So, you know, sound, that's why sound healing is so important. And I believe that we will see so much more of it. And I really want to be a part of that, because if you've ever sat and if you've ever listened to, like in a well acoustic room, in a well insulated room with nice acoustics, which is actually very expensive and takes a lot of energy and effort to create actually. And then if you've got like a, you know, Tibetan singing bowl there, and you take a breath and you go into the heart, and you like you just let that kind of sound come out through that bowl and those vibrations, and you allow the wave. And it's you know, the contrast is so stark, or the contrast is so different, because in our environments we are used to listening to, you know, the distortions of the wave being cut off, or it's the you know, different sound waves not going together in the same, you know, in the same pattern. They're now I'm at a loss for thinking about what that's called again. You know, I know we could say dissonance, but that's not the word that I'm thinking of. Out of phase. It's out of phase when you've got, hang on, it's just hard to do it backwards, you know, but if one goes up and one goes down, it's out of phase, and they start to cancel each other out. And that's happening in our environment all the time, because we've just got like static going on. And so I think one of the super crises, I suppose, of humanity's ability to access God, and I'm talking about accessing God like as it flows through you, not as a external idea or a construct like religion, or, you know, that you read in a book, or that you go somewhere and you'd be like, God is there, or, you know, God is here. No, God's got to get in. God's coming in. He's got to get in here. And I'm saying he, I don't think it's a he. God is not a he or a she. God is everything, and God is more, and God is, you know, it doesn't like, it's not as tiny as a gender construct. I mean, it's both, like, or it's both, but it's not either, and it just can't be contained that way, I believe. So I don't mind saying God and God or goddess. I don't even, to me, like, I don't know, I've been I hang out with witches, and the goddess is very important, but for some reason, while I love goddess mythology, I don't just hold the goddess. Like, it's, to me, again, it's just like, it's just as much of a limitation as to say that God is a male man. It's just not. It's both. It's not as simple as that, but it is at the same time the most simple thing. So what else do I want to say just to close this off? God and source, but I put consciousness in that pool, I guess. But consciousness, maybe consciousness is the breath of God. You know, we say in human design terms that we are the breath of stars. The breath of stars being the neutrino field. And like in this neutrino field, we have a crystal bundle, and that crystal bundle filters consciousness in a way that is what we, like who I am, who you are. It's how we authentically filter, you know, exactly what we're here to be in order to watch ourselves, like for consciousness to watch itself. So maybe I don't know how that fits. So if we are the breath of stars, maybe consciousness is the like breath of God. I'm gonna play with that. I have no idea if that makes any sense, but that's just what came out of my mouth. And yeah, so I'm gonna write about this more, because when I write, there's just a different function happening in my brain. It's a different type of flow. And I guess this is part of my experiment of understanding how these different flow states work for me, and what I draw out and what I get out of these processes, how they interact and overlap. And I really want to encourage everybody or anybody listening to this to consider how you can incorporate or add or practice more flow. And, you know, maybe you're just recording yourself and you just play it for yourself. So this kind of started for me, I guess, when I, you know, in the era of the voice memo where we, it's often convenient, especially if you want to get into a flow and you want to say a bunch of stuff and you've got friends and they want to say a bunch of stuff too. So instead of like interrupting each other's flow, we can, you know, send a big long voice memo. And I was just noticing my voice memos were epically long, and then sometimes they had some amazing things in them, but I just sent them to this one person, and that one person may or may not have appreciated, you know, the download or the flow. So that is where my ear is doing these weird squeaky things. I think that's another video I'm going to tap into. I've got chronic tinnitus. I've had ringing in my ears for like 10 years. But I'm just starting to connect with or tap into or try and use the function of this tinnitus that I have as guidance. I guess like there's a bit of a thing around. I was like, so I'm looking for resources as well on like other people's experiences, but like, you know, it's kind of like the left ear is maybe a warning or an omen or a watch out, and the right ear being like, this is telling you something to go towards. The left is kind of caution. So I have had like a bit more activity in my left lately, but in doing that, like, I don't panic about it. I'm just like, okay, I just need to be more aware or conscious or watch what's going on, being careful. Sometimes it happens while I'm driving, so that's like okay, be extra careful, follow the signs. And I have had a bit of a anxiety on the roads lately that I never used to have, but there's a lot more surveillance in Sydney. There's a lot more cars. There are definitely more accidents. There's been a lot of rain, a lot of heavy sustained rain, and I think, yeah, people also, I don't know, seem to have a lot of demons hanging around them. And I say that in a kind of, you know, a lighthearted way. But there's some really uncareful driving, and people should be more careful. It is not worth it. So, you know, I don't know what that's about. Anyway, I'm going to put some links to my Medium and some my Substack, because the Substack has some older articles, but to be honest, I'm probably just going to keep working with the Medium and talking about music and God frequencies and just seeing what pours out in that space. So I hope that if you've listened to this, that you glean something, and it might inspire you to respond in some way, in your own practice, your own flow state. I have a conscious creative flow course that I wrote, and that's on Thinkific. I'll put a link to that down below, and I'll just link my website as well. As always, I do human design consultations. I did 2 yesterday. I'm very comprehensive. What I've noticed myself doing is like I do a lot of prep work before the consultation, then I speak to my client around an hour and a half. I know some people might just go longer and longer, but for me, there's like I feel like I'm sharing so much information and I want it to like land and sink. So I'd rather like leave it at a short space and then like do another session that people can go away and see what integrated for them. But then I also like to go back and type up all my notes and give them that. So then it has a combination of being a bit more tailored to the conversation that we had and the specific things that they've shared that, you know, seemed like they resonated and dropped, or you know, if something didn't fit as well, then I just work on how that is more fits in their life. Because when we're doing human design, I guess there's a lot of language and like phrases and things that are part of like the books and the online stuff and the original texts. So you kind of can read it from one angle, but then when you talk to someone, you can sort of see how the understanding might need to be, you know, massaged a little bit so that it fits. It's not changing it. It's just identifying how it works practically, I guess. Because I really feel like I just really want it to be impactful for people, because I feel like human design's been so impactful for me. I certainly wouldn't spend this much time on it. You know, all of the hours in the mentorship, and all of the hours of studying it, and the fact that, you know, there's a mosquito, and the fact that I actually can't put down the study. And it's not necessarily the easiest work. It's a complicated system. It can be a bit heady to get into and stick with and stay with, and I'm really interested in, you know, teaching people the mental version and the mind layer, but then how to practically drop into the body and use the guidance of your own authority as a, you know, that's the biggest thing that we have to do, is to understand our own authority. Oh God, that mosquito had blood in it. Oh my God, there's so many of you. All right, I better go deal with this situation and start my day. Have a wonderful day, and I'll hopefully speak to you soon. Comment below, reach out to me. Lots of love.